This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is brought to you by GOT Sound Studio. GOT Sound Studio offers a variety of experiences: music, voice, and instrumental recording and production, video, and still photography. GOT Sound Studio has all of your media needs met. Owned and operated by Dominique Stewart, the Neek the Geek, experienced artists as well as up-and-coming will find everything they need to create. Bring your media needs to one of the most talented producers and engineers in the business, Neek the Geek. You can find details by visiting gotsoundstudio.com or calling 803-243-2302. You can also find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com.
The All About Nothing podcast
may have content and language
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the All About Nothing podcast. I am Barrett Gruber. This is episode number 197, which is actually part 2 of episode number 196. It is Monday, March the 11th, and we're going to jump right back into this episode where we left off last week. My guest is Leroy Green. He's joining Zac and I for this episode so that you can hear us talk about food and politics and what's to come on this episode. So first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for being here. If you've not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the show, share it with your family and friends, as that's how we get new listeners. Also, if you could please consider supporting the show financially by visiting our website and clicking on the support link. I'll have more details on that at the end of the show. If you can't, please drop us a review, hit those 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. All of that helps drive our show higher up in the ratings on all of these podcast platforms. With that out of the way, we're going to jump right back into it with Zac King and Leroy Green here on the All About Nothing podcast.
When you brought up fast food, I thought you were going to bring up because Wendy's is going to test surge pricing. That's where I thought you were going. You're doing fast food.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too.
Yeah, I was like, that's, again, the audacity. How dare they? How dare you? But then I'm like, you know what? Bravo companies to say we're dealing with high inflation. People can't afford homes. But you know what? If you want a 4 for $4, be prepared to pay $6 at noon.
Absolutely.
I really, as much as I don't like it, you got to respect the FU to your own customers.
Yeah. To
say, you know what?
Yeah.
We know you come here because it's cheap, it's convenient, and it's fast. But you know what? Eat a dick. $7. $7 for the 5 for $5 biggie bag if you come at the wrong time. Like, that is the most gangster thing I have ever heard.
It is.
In a time where politicians are arguing over inflation, we have high prices. A brand new car probably costs about $45,000.
Yeah.
You know, depends on what kind you get. And Wendy's is like, you know what? Run up the score.
The 5 for $5 is now 5 for $7.
Like, bravo, Wendy's. I'm actually shocked. It was Wendy's who did it. I really was expecting someone else to come out with it. What do you
expect when they're like a double's fine? How about a triple? How about a quadruple?
I just want to say this. I remember when a Dave's double stack, Dave Thomas double stack was 99 cents. And that was basically, I mean, it was a 2-patty cheeseburger with lettuce and tomato and onions. I mean, it wasn't a Whopper, it was small, but It was 99. You could get a Dave double stack for 99 cents. And I feel like that was in the last 20 years you could do that. I went to a Wendy's one time. I was like, yeah, let me get a Dave's double stack and a medium fry. They're like, a Dave what? A double stack. Oh, yeah, that's $4.99 now.
Double.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what Wendy's will say to you when you bring that up? Wendy's will say, hey, man, you got a time machine? No? F you, pay me.
I remember when it was ABC. I remember telling you to get the hell out of here.
I'm telling you.
You know what?
Wendy's, the audacity to say we're not only not lowering prices, we're going to tell you they're going up, and we're not going to tell you when it is. But if you see a line of cars out there, bitch better have my money.
I mean, our power companies do it already. I mean, like we know what the peak times, because we used to have it with cell phones. Cell phones used to have peak times. This is when your minutes were less valuable.
I remember.
But yeah, I mean, like the power company during the winter, our peak time is like from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. Like it may only be 2 hours long, but if I'm trying to heat the house in that time, it's going to cost me, $5 or $6 more an hour or whatever the charge is per wattage. But
that felt like an infrastructure problem at the time, because that or they really screwed us with the whole like unlimited for one low monthly price, and I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about the phones? Yeah, it was I remembered when I had to literally buy my minutes, and then those minutes were worth less during peak times, or worth less to me. They were worth more to the phone company.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
No one is more gangster than a corporation who's after what they believe is their money.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I really hope someone does a sketch of like the board meeting of all the executives who were like, I want to circle back to charging them more money during lunch. Like what were the other ideas that didn't think about that? That idea made it. There's other ideas we don't know about.
You're right.
Somebody was like, Steve, man, that's dumb. But Joyce's idea of raising prices during peak hours, Joyce, tell me a little bit more about this. What research do you have on that?
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. Lunchtime, it's busy. The 4 for 4 is how much? Well, we base it on the numbers of people and this algorithm. Well, basically, it's $7. Joyce, I'm gonna let you run with that. Like, what were the other ideas? Yeah. And how is that the one that made it?
Now, how do we sell the 5 for 5 for $7? That's called marketing's problem.
That's
Get
right.
in there and figure it out.
See, Zach, you could be in management.
He was in management.
I was a little, yeah.
With that kind of thinking, sir, you can go places.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can be an executive at Wendy's.
So
you know what? I should be. My dad met Mr. Dave Thomas. So if he wasn't dead, I could have an in. You remember that guy you met a long time ago at that car dealership? No? Shit.
So the last thing I wanted to bring up, and this is one of those things where I am sometimes a little bit taken back by some of people's responses on it. But I want to talk about the president and the former president's level of cognizance. And before we do that, I'm hoping that this is gonna play. But this is basically some of the insane speeches that Donald Trump had over the weekend in front of basically his Nazi crowd of supporters at the CPAC this week. So I'm hoping
I stand before you today not only as your past and hopefully future president.
You don't hear it.
But as a proud political dissident. I am a dissident. For hardworking Americans,
well, that's not going to play very well. So basically, if you've had an opportunity to check it out, he did his usual ramblings. He talked about how he's a dissident. He talked about how black people are now excited about him because he's been indicted several times.
Oh yes, his mugshot. They wear it on the shirts for $19 a pop. They sell them. My God, $19. I'm one of them. Got street cred. Like, Jesus Christ. Would you be saying that if they got you on the rape stuff, you creep?
One of the things that makes me really uncomfortable is when white people say, I've got black friends and I've got a lot of black friends. That's always a weird thing to say. Like I feel less comfortable saying I have a lot of white friends, but it's just sort of a weird thing to say. But I think one of the funny things that comes out of this is that Donald, he isn't saying that he now has garnered all of this black support because of his indictments. He's not saying that for the benefit of himself. He's saying that for the benefit of the white people in the room that are ashamed of the fact that he may have a little bit more black support than he had before. But like, who is he trying to I'm really curious. Who is he trying to convince?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's one of those things where like you have two people, both Donald Trump and and Joe Biden, who are at an age where they may say things, they may do things that you would be like, hey, that's weird. Maybe don't say that again or do that again. Because remember, Joe Biden was in trouble about the whole sniffing of the hair and putting his hands on people and, you know, that kind of stuff. And that was years ago.
Yeah.
So you have these two people. I don't know. In my humble opinion, I believe he thinks those statements plays with that crowd. And there's no one who's able to say it doesn't, because everyone there soaks it up. Because if you remember when Donald Trump was here in South Carolina and he made those comments at the Black conservative was it Federation? I believe that's
something like that. All I know is whatever the award was they gave to him, he was the first ever recipient of this award, and this was the first year that this award had ever existed.
Yeah. So when you think about he made all these comments, he spoke for an hour and a half here in Columbia, South Carolina, the day before the SC GOP primary.
Right.
The crowd, they enjoyed it. According to them,
right?
When the mainstream media said, "Hey, there's something off with this. It's borderline racist. It's pandering," the people who were there came out in support of him.
Yeah,
and other people were like, "Hey, man, that ain't cool." But because it's him, and because there's no checks and balances, he can say and do whatever, and people will excuse it. And that's why I think it's so interesting that Nikki Haley is still running, because even Nikki Haley is saying the things that Democrats say.
Right.
But the difference is that she is a conservative saying. And it's not, you have this whole idea of people saying Nikki Haley's a moderate. Listen to Nikki Haley herself. She will tell you I'm not a moderate.
Right.
I am a conservative Republican. And she is saying these things. The question comes with both of these people. Does Nikki Haley say at the end of her run, if she does not end up being the nominee, do I support this man? And do the other Democrats fall in line with Joe Biden? Because if you saw Michigan, there was a huge contingent of not committed.
Yeah.
And so you have some people on the Democratic side saying, hey, we don't like your stance on the war in Israel. We don't like your stance on the border. We do not like your stance on a lot of these issues, but we're going to ride with our man. And Jon Stewart, his first night back, eloquently showcased both people, both of these individuals, and said, hey, we see this with our eyes and hear it with our ears. And even Democrat, and the funniest thing is Republicans didn't really say anything. They were just like, oh, that's Jon Stewart. Keith Olbermann and other Democrats were like, that's not fair. And it's like, I'm sorry, did you not see the president at the Super Bowl? Did you not like, and that's the thing that we're dealing with right now. We have two people who are establishment, who are an institution of themselves, and they are both vying for one of the most powerful positions. And it really becomes a focus on, hey, man, who's your co-pilot? Yeah. Because there's a real strong possibility one of those people could be in charge.
Yeah. Right. Well, and to a lot of that, the one of the things that Joe Biden said literally just this past December, he was quoted as saying, if Donald Trump isn't the nominee, there's no point in me running. And the likely, which I am astounded, one, because that is a lot of power, and I don't care how humble you are, how much you think that you're only running against Donald Trump to keep Donald Trump out of office, or you're running for president to keep him out of office, but that I still think that even if Donald Trump were to get convicted, and I'm going to be honest, I've said this before, Donald Trump gets convicted, he's not going to spend a single day in jail, and he's not going to spend a single day in prison. He is going to get on that plane, and he is going to fly to Saudi Arabia, or he's going to fly to Moscow, and that's it. He will rule his MAGA masses from afar, truthing out, on a hour by hour basis from Moscow or you know, Saudi Arabia, wherever. But
as long as he's on exile and not in the mainstream media all the time.
I fully believe he's going to exile himself. And at that point, as a supporter of Donald Trump, like an ultra MAGA person, why at that point is that what it's going to take for you to go, you know what? He kind of is a coward. I still don't, you know what? I say that out loud, and I don't think I don't think any of those people will turn away from him.
We talked about earlier, optics. They don't care.
Yeah, and I think also I think it's become a us versus them thing. I think that's a very big part of it. But I also think it's a situation when it comes to, I think it's become an event, these Trump rallies.
Sure.
When I covered the Nikki Haley, and here's my press pass going to Nikki Haley's, which actually was actually kind of fun. I mean, just covering and seeing how things operated. I enjoy the politics and watching, but there is a different energy at different events. So like, let's say both of you, I don't know, have probably heard about Jim Clyburn's fish fry.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
There's a different feeling at there versus a Trump rally. And so there's a different energy. And I think one of the things that Trump has going for him is that it is a movement, and these people feel forgotten, whether it's an age and they see the world changing in a way that they're not necessarily comfortable with, whether it is a feeling of I've been left behind because I am and there's no one speaking to my needs. If you remember, Democrats were the party of the working class,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And Republicans were the party of the business class. That was kind of their stereotype. And there are a lot of people in that mid-range who are not middle class, but they're not low class. They're right there. They're working every day. They're struggling, and they feel forgotten. And they feel like this person, for better or for worse, has their best interest. Now, I don't know how he pulled that off, selling $400 sneakers. I don't know how he pulled that off.
They were all fans of his TV show, The Apprentice.
I got to be honest. I don't think a single one of those people watched The Apprentice. They showed
that to me in high school during computer lab all the time.
Here's the thing. I do think there is a sense of this person says things that I wish that I could say, or he is a person who does not bow to the things that I have to bow to. He doesn't have to listen to his boss. He doesn't have to listen to the power brokers who normally do things. He is unconventional, and that is attractive to them, especially if you felt like you have been forgotten, especially if you felt like none of these people care about you and your issues. And you start to see from a black male point of view, notice this is something that Democrats need to start paying attention to. Black males are voting more for Trump. Black females vote more Democratic. And there is a shift in this way that we see how we talk to each other, whether you call it wokeism, the culture wars, whatever you call it. There is something to him, regardless of the cognitive dissonance of seeing with your own eyes, this man is up for so many different court cases, so many different charges, civilly liable for sexual assault.
Well, they're just out to get me. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. And for them to say, I'm still going to vote for him, I'm still going to go to his rallies, there is something to that. It's a part, they want to feel a part of something. And that's what you're up against.
That's
you're not up against that. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Zach.
I was just saying, but you're exactly right. That's a level of cognitive dissonance that is just unfathomable, really, in the long run of it. But I think, too, that the thing that makes Trump do what he does and so good at doing it is he's basically like a sociopath, right? He doesn't have a conscience. Even when he's throwing pity at somebody, it's the same shade of fake.
Look what he did to Tim Scott. Like Tim Scott standing behind him after he won New Hampshire, right? So Trump wins New Hampshire pretty handedly. And Tim Scott's literally standing behind him, and he turns to him and he says, "You must really hate that woman to support me." And
I just really like you.
And then Tim Scott's like, come on, boss. I mean, like, it literally comes behind him, and then it scares Trump. Like, I absolutely believe that Trump had no idea that there was a black man that close to him that could frighten him the way that Tim Scott did in that second. Like,
you can't jump at me with that kind of dumb to teeth ratio. You can't do that to me.
And here's the thing, and we talked about this before. When you think about Nikki Haley, whether you like her or you dislike her, if you look at her being governor, the things that she brought in. If you look at Boeing, if you looked at how she helped bring businesses, she brought the flag down. Now, some will say she didn't have a choice in bringing it down if she wanted a political career. But if you look at Nikki Haley elevating Tim Scott, nominating him, if you look at Nikki Haley supporting Nancy Mace, stepping aside to become the UN ambassador, and then allowing Henry McMaster, supporting Henry McMaster, talking him up, and for all of them to side with Trump, that's a level of, and if you think, and you both watched the debates where Nikki Haley went after Tim Scott and was like, what were you been doing for 10 years? There's some personal, there's some personal back and forth between that. But to the point of Trump being able to say that about her and Tim Scott, and there's no reports of Tim Scott pushing back. Hey, I still got love for this woman who did so much for me.
Right.
You really? Like, if I was Nikki Haley, I don't know the woman. I've never met her. Actually, I have met her. I met her once, but I got to give her credit for seeing all of this betrayal. And I understand it's politics, house of cards, but to see all this betrayal and still say nice things about them.
Weird.
You cut me off when I'm trying to make that left turn to get my kids home after I've been working all day. You're going to hear some words.
Yeah.
Right. I think I don't have anything personally against Nikki Haley. I do think the flag thing was more of a profitable decision for her, especially when you factor in the NCAA wasn't going to hold any kind of tournament here for all those years that it was there. That's such a revenue stream that you're just cutting off, especially with how good the sports teams are.
I just want to point this out, not to take anything away from the fact that she was governor when it happened, but she had really nothing to do with it. She put her support in it coming down, but the House and the Senate were the ones that decided and voted and took it down. She just happened to be governor when it happened, but she also happened to be governor during one of the most horrendous crimes that's ever been committed. Well, in modern history, Dylan Roof killing 9 individual souls, like taking the lives of these individual souls in one of the most racist, destructive ways possible. And
guess what? And what do they say she did?
She took the flag down.
And here's the other part. When you think about the fact of Nikki Haley supposedly took the flag down, but subsequently afterwards will say things like America's never been a racist country, or Obama was divisive and was causing issues, or, if you go back and watch her Breakfast Club interview, if you watch any town hall with Jake Tapper where she says things and you're like, you're from Bamberg, South Carolina. You wrote a book about the things that you faced. You have black friends who have told you these things and you still go out there. She could have won the Republican primary here in South Carolina with the black vote.
Right.
An open primary, if she had just not towed that line, she could have won the SC GOP primary, and she could have been in a better position to fight Donald Trump. But again, she's not talking to me. She's not. She's talking to someone else other than me to get their support. Same thing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not talking to me. He's talking to someone else to get their support. And it's that cognitive dissonance, because I'm telling you, mark my words, how many times have you ever seen a reporter ask Nikki Haley, if you eventually lose, would you support Donald Trump as the nominee? She will pivot, she will back and forth, but watch, at the end of the day, she is going to support him for the nominee. After saying all these things.
Well, you think so?
And And that's the cognitive dissonance that you're up against. Not just the regular people. You're up against the establishment that has bent the knee.
Yeah.
Well, I'll blame that on our Clemson education.
Whoa.
I'll also say this: the GOP did require all of the candidates to sign an intent of that.
I was just wondering, do you have any of these? Do you have any of these? Can you see it? I'm just wondering. I just want to make sure you saw it. It's this is from the 20. I mean, yeah, but that's looks like a baseball. I'm wondering. Wait, I got a better question. Before your internet goes out, have you guys ever won the SEC?
Yes.
Have you ever won the SEC in football?
The East have you? Come on now.
I'm just saying.
So
everybody gets one. We know you cheated. The basketball guys said you did.
real quick. I know we all probably have a fairly low opinion of Trump's cognitive ability, whatever. I mean, he clearly is. I believe, based on the evidence of his speeches and things like that, that there is some decline, that he can't stay on message, that he can't continue to read from a prompter for more than maybe 3 or 4 lines before he distracts himself away from it. And then he says weird things like, it went from you have to flush toilets 15 or 16 times to now he's talking about the fact that there's no water pressure.
Trump dumps.
Yeah, there's no water pressure coming out of sinks or showers anymore.
I don't know, Margarita, it won't go down. I've done at least 13 flushes.
I'm in shock that there are people out there that agree that okay, so we had friends in the Irmo area last night that didn't have any water pressure because they're on blue granite water or whatever, and that it happens from time to time.
And I'm in Irmo.
Was your water out last night?
No.
Okay.
Fine.
It was over in the Dutch Fork area. Ami's house was without water last night. But regardless, it's not a symptom of a national issue. It's just some weird nonsense this old man is saying, which you can imagine him yelling at the kids from his yard. Outside of that, I really just quickly, before we wrap things up, I want to know, do you all believe that Joe Biden actually is suffering from some cognitive decline? That there is
definitely.
You do?
Yeah, I think when you get to that age, there's a little bit of slipping. If you look at what these two men have done and you look at their ages, regardless of how you feel about them, if you look at the things that Joe Biden has faced, Joe Biden has gone through. He's been vice president during for 8 years. He was in the Senate for God knows how long.
Right.
He's been president. We know that ages a person. The death of his son, the death of his
wife and daughter.
Wife and daughter, yeah.
You look at the prosecution his son is going through. All of that combined with that's just off the top of my head.
Sure.
And you think about it, like raising kids, but like think about the stress of buying a house, like all these different things that we do without
the weight of the world, of the world on you.
Running for office, and you look at Donald Trump, the man has multiple wives, multiple children. He has grandchildren. He has run, whether you hate him or love him, he's run multiple businesses. He has had multiple court cases, whether he has sued people or been sued. That pressure of life is going to cause you to slip in one way. I'm 46. Like
he's like, I feel 95.
Like I'm in my 40s and I slip a little bit. Like I have to think, like, how old am I again? And like my wife just had a birthday this year, and she was like, she did it. And she did that whole thing, like, how old am I this year? I was like, you made fun of me when I do it, and now you did it.
Yeah, but I've seen your wife. I've seen your wife. She's barely 30. So,
but here's the thing, and that's why I said at 30, at 40, if we can have that slip, definitely at that age. Now, it may not be as bad as Trump's, or it may be worse. The difference with Trump is he's never used a prompter. He's always, like, he prided himself. Remember, he used to make fun of Obama for using a prompter. So the off-the-cuff stuff is more noticeable now, because before he would make these jokes and they would kind of land.
Right.
Now it's just, you don't know what he's going to say.
Well, he doubles down on the jokes too. He doubles down on them. You know, the prompter will come up and he'll read the line, and then you can tell when the prompter has either gone out or that it's sort of stuttered or whatever. But then he'll just repeat the word, or he'll be it's weird.
Well, I'll tell you this: Donald Trump is the product of natural selection, not having his pick anymore, right?
Late.
Am I wrong?
Coming in hot.
At least
I know. Secret Service, when you come for Zac, remember, I didn't say that. The white guy in the middle, the black guy didn't say that. Now, keep in mind.
I'm not talking eugenics. I'm just talking that dumb sees loud people, and they're like, "Oh, Lord, what are you doing?"
The funniest thing is that Secret Service will probably rappel through this window to get me for what Zac said, and it's like, I didn't say it. Zac said it.
You heard that? You heard that, right? You can mix it up. Go ahead and go.
I'll just say this. I don't think Joe Biden is as bad off as what the media, because I think that's
pretty bad though.
having knowledge and experience, and Leroy can speak to this, of how the news media kind of works. It doesn't do national news any good for Joe Biden to be way up here with his intelligence and his health and his cognizance, and Donald Trump be way down here. They have to find a way of evening the playing field so that they can sell more advertising, because ultimately that's what they're trying to do.
Well, here's the thing and to me, the age is an issue. The cognitive ability is an issue, but it's not the major issue for me when it comes to Joe Biden. It's a lot of whataboutisms. And again, go back to Nikki Haley. The things Nikki Haley says about Joe Biden, people pointed out about her candidate that she's running against is worse. So if you've noticed, she's tempered her message to call both of them out, for there to be a cognitive test for both of them.
Sure.
And that plays well for her. I think the problem with Joe Biden and what Democrats have to do is like say, you know what? Why are you coming for our candidate? Ageism. And if the Democrat, and again, once again, I don't know how they messed this up, because again, it's like they're gonna fumble the bag. Admit that there's a little bit of slippage when you get to be that old and have the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're not going to remember everything, and say, he's just like you. He gets stressed at work sometimes. He forgets to do X, Y, and Z. And he's the leader of the free world, and say, but we're not going to allow you to discriminate against these two people running because they're only 3 or 4 years apart in age, and say, this is good for the, and again, I'm saying this, if you are a Democratic consultant, say this is good of the country to show that we don't cut you off at a certain point of age that you are no longer useful. You can run the country at this age and lean into it. But again, messaging, Democrats, rakes, all that other stuff. I think there are other things that you could really come after Joe Biden about, whether it's, equivocating on certain issues. Again, I bring up the whole, because right now that's really big for a lot of people, the war in Israel. You know, the messaging on that, because it seems that Joe Biden will say one thing in public and say something else in private. And that leans into the whole cognitive ability where and so that's why I say for Joe Biden, there are other things. They are both old. We can both see that they're old.
Right.
That's like saying Leroy is not old when I literally have gray hair in my beard. And it's like, no, we can see that. And that's the same thing with these two candidates.
Yeah.
We can see that. Now, one may be worse than the other, but that also goes back to, are you a fair-minded person, or are you a Republican, or are you a Democrat? Because remember, if you're a MAGA Republican, you think Joe Biden is literally in diapers and drooling at the pedestal in the East Wing of the West Wing. You believe that. Meanwhile, your candidate is running around saying some things that you're like, hey, man, we wouldn't let you drive if you said some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But
That's
so, again,
especially bringing it on like Israel and stuff, and people just putting the blinders onto that, just blind devotion, being like, oh, well, he hit us with a stick. Well, they're throwing rocks. Da 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 da. I picked the side I picked, and let's do what we're doing. And I think that's just insane.
Well,
I think that you need to go way deeper into it. But alas, that's a conversation for another episode.
But to Barrett's point, when you have a national media that is not a 24-hour news cycle, that's not built for nuance. It's built for breaking news. A 24-hour news cycle is built for
gotcha.
Not just gotcha, the flight that disappeared, the train that derailed, your Malaysias, the train that derails, and I hate to say it, your mass shootings. That's what 24-hour news network is made for. It's not made for the nuance of let's sit down in an actual sober environment and have a group of people actually have a conversation, because that doesn't sell ads. You need people shouting at each other. You need the politics of Skip Bayless on one side and Stephen A. Smith on the other side, or Shannon Sharp. Pick your loud person. Mad Dog Russo whoever your loud person is. That's what politics has turned into, where people say some of the most outlandish, outrageous things, and you're like, how are you still on TV?
Well, they editorialize it. We know A happened. That's all we know. Give us your thoughts. And it's like, that's not news anymore. As soon as you know A happened, you'll be like, developing situation, this is the information we have, cut it. And when we have more, no, you're going to talk about it. You're going to sit there and throw out theories. You're going to sit there and do that. You're going to escalate it. And it's literally just because it's entertainment. Maybe 24 hours of news is too many hours. About 20 too many hours.
It didn't used to be this way.
No.
I'll just say this before we move on to the last thing, which is by the way, Leroy, 7 questions, so be prepared because you haven't done this yet.
Okay.
I'll just say this last. I think that Joe Biden is in, and this is just my opinion based on what I have observed in him off the cuff remarks versus being unscripted or being scripted, whatever. I think that Joe Biden is in good enough health to probably go further than the next term if he wins. I don't think that he is so far bad off that he would die in office. I think that the likelihood is Joe Biden will easily live into his mid to upper 80s without issue. I mean, we literally have Jimmy Carter, who lost Rosalind several months ago. And I would have thought that would have been the end, but he's still holding on, and he was a very he didn't have the healthiest life, but I guess he's got the benefit of that federal health care too. So
and he did good things. He was I do believe the things that you do and put out there probably does the fact that Habitat for Humanity, building low income houses for low income families. I mean that probably helped keep him young. Being around people younger than him.
Were y'all alive when he was president?
I was not.
No.
I was. Well, yeah, you were.
A pox on both your houses, Zach. A pox on both your houses.
Leroy, and I were both alive when Jimmy Carter was president. We were.
I was born in 1977.
That's right. So yeah, I was born 11 years before. I was born in 1979, so I had a full year of basically almost 2 years of Jimmy Carter as president, because he didn't hand over the keys until 1981 after Reagan was elected. All right, Leroy, it is time for 7 questions. I'm hoping that you haven't heard these before. Zach has. All right, so the first of the 7 questions is, what was the last thing you Googled?
Just now. The actual poll results for Nikki Haley and what were her numbers for when she lost to Trump for the SCGOP primary. Yeah,
right,
that was like literally on my phone. Like as we were talking about, I wanted the exact numbers, but of course, CNN being a well organized machine did not just give me what I asked for.
Sure.
When I clicked on the site.
Yeah. Google's great. Google's great.
Thank you, CNN, for not doing the one thing I asked you to do. That's why I don't go to you.
Yeah, mine was definitely, what's this yellow blinking light on my motherboard?
Yeah.
All right, Leroy, if you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Let's see. Practical would have to be being super smart like Tony Stark or Batman or something like that. If we went practical, but if we're going pure
intelligence,
if we're going for pure power fantasy, it's power of magnetism. Oh man,
okay.
you could.
Magneto.
I could rule the world. I could rule the world. I could literally bend the world to my knee with.
You could lift Genosha up into the sky for the mutants to be
not
safe.
Only that, I literally could change the polarity of the poles to bend to my will if I didn't get what I want. So when Arby's,
you would destroy the earth.
When Wendy says that we're going to have surge pricing, and I read this on my phone. Actually, that was the last thing I Googled. Yeah, that was the last thing I Googled. Wendy's. When Wendy says, hey, we're going to have surge prices, so your 4 for 4 is going to cost $7, and I can just go, I can tilt the axis just a little bit. And when the storms start, I can tweet out and be like, oh, really? The fuck did you just say, Wendy's? And Wendy's is like,
how do you like hurricanes?
And Wendy's would be like, you know what? We reached out, we heard some things, and we decided the 4 for 4 is going to be $3.50. So surge pricing is going to be lower. So if you come to Wendy's during this time, the 5 for 5 biggie bag is going to be $4, and it's like, power of magnetism, because you can control electricity, you can control literally the entire world. I can control the
might elect your president.
Oh yeah, I definitely would be a dictator with that type of power. So if you're talking power fantasy, power of magnetism.
I thought you would say like a Wolverine Deadpool healing factor.
Hell no, because that still hurts. If you get shot, it still hurts. But if I have the power of magnetism, you would never shoot me.
You would never get
That's
sick.
true.
Here's the thing, I don't mind having a cold, because guess what?
Oh God.
You cannot enjoy the sunshine without a little bit of rain. And
we can always try.
If I had the healing power, I couldn't take over the world. And again, if we're talking superpower, world domination, let me be Magneto.
All right.
That's fair.
All right, Leroy. What is your most embarrassing favorite song?
Are
you a Swiftie?
Barbara
No,
Girl
I'm not.
by Aqua.
No, I'm not. It's one of the kids' songs too.
Baby Shark, do 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 do.
No,
baby.
I don't mind that one. I actually have played the Bluey theme song on YouTube without the kids being in the car.
It's catchy. It's catchy.
Like, I've literally caught myself playing the kid songs, and this one I was like, I knew it was over, because you go from listening to, 21 Savage or Metallica or trap music with Future, and I'm like, Low Life with Weeknd, talking about popping Molly and stuff, and then you're like,
oh my God,
sunny day in the clouds.
Oh man,
I've let the kid out of the car.
Yeah.
And I've clicked on my phone and I'm like, AJR sings with Sesame Street. And I'm like, who are the people in your neighborhood? And there's no child in my car. So I'm quite sure to some weird, to everybody else watching, there's this old bald black guy just singing kid songs. And there's
run. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's listening to kid songs after the kids are gone and still vibing to them and being like, that beat hits.
That's
that
fair.
Goes hard.
That's fair.
You know who was the worst for making you do that? Yo Gabba Gabba would have on like Most Def, or they would have on Taking Back Sunday, or they would have on a guest to sing on Yo Gabba Gabba. And then I'd be like, I have to listen to Taking Back Sunday on Yo Gabba Gabba. Like, what are they singing? They're like, the letter F. And you're just like, damn it. Like, you're just driving down the road.
So like Sesame Street songs. Sesame Street will always have these people on. Elvis Costello sings with Elmo. Or,
John Mayer.
John Mayer or,
Mike
Jason
Stipe.
Mraz. And I listen to those songs after they're gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, man. And so like, it's like who's the redhead? Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
Ed
yeah,
Sheeran sings with Sesame Street, and I'm like vibing to that song
That's
after
fair.
the
It's
kids are
deep.
gone.
It's deep.
Or, you
Here
know,
we go.
or Feist. 1, 2, 3, 4
3, 4,
monsters knocking at my door. And
Yeah.
I sing that. I'm just humming it, walking through the halls at ETV.
Absolutely.
Has Feist counted with the count on Sesame Street yet? That is a missed opportunity. If not,
She might have, but the song does not have him in it. It has Elmo, chickens, and penguins. Now, guess who has counted with the count?
who's that?
Billie Eilish.
Oh,
Billie Eilish does a song where they sing 1, 2, and it's another one again. So yeah, I can talk about kid songs in Sesame Street for a while.
Well, every time I think of the count, I think of Dave Chappelle. Bitch, you've been late with my money 3 times. I've been counting.
see, and I was gonna make a Dave Chappelle reference too, because Chappelle had John Mayer on and they sang the theme song to the Jeffersons, which was great.
Well, yeah, then he did like a guitar control over white people.
Yeah, that was fantastic. All right, what was the one thing your parents did that embarrassed you?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. Let's see.
Say your whole name in front of your friends.
No. Oh, okay. So here it is. And it's actually not her fault. It was my fault because I embarrassed myself. So, you know, when you're young and you're like in that middle school, right before you hit high school, that age range where you're like, I'm cool and I know what I'm doing. And you're like, yeah. So one day I remember I was talking to friends of mine, you know, you're bragging and you're like, oh man, you know, I can kill snakes, you know, because we lived in Beaufort and, you know, we had a bad problem with like water moccasins and rattlesnakes where we lived.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, man, the snake comes up close to me. Now, keep in mind, I'm definitely afraid of snakes. I hate them. I think they're one of the most magnificent creatures on the planet, but I'm definitely afraid of them. I hate them with the passion.
All right.
Done everything that they tell you to do, like go pet them, go talk to them, you know, research them. I know all the facts, and they move unnatural. I think they're demon spawn, the nope rope, Satan's scarf, whatever you want to call them, Satan's electric cord, extension cord, whatever it is. I freaking hate them. So I'm talking to friends of mine thinking, oh yeah, I can kill snakes, all this other stuff. My mom overhears me. A couple of weeks go by and I go to take out the trash. A buddy of mine, we're leaving. I'm like, Mom, I'm leaving. I go to take out the trash. I go to open the trash can and there's a small rattlesnake curled up outside where the trash cans are.
Dang.
Of course, I scream, high-pitched scream, and a scream. My mom comes out. What's going on? I'm like, there's a snake in there. And my mom's like, oh, snake killer? Here's a hoe. Go for it. Here's a shovel. It's time to start getting down and dirty. My mom, small diminutive black woman, says, oh, you not gonna do it. I guess your mom's got to kill it. My mom opens the door, takes the hoe out, chops his head off, gets a bag, throws him in the trash can, and walks off and says, some snake killer. And my friends are like, yo, son. And I'm like, so what had happened was
that's good.
That snake was too small.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Embarrassed me, but let's be honest, that was my fault.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You boasted a little much.
Boys and girls at home, what is the lesson? Don't lie where your mom can hear you.
That's right.
Make sure you lie when they're not within earshot.
That's that Key and Peele skit where he goes he says I said bitch.
Up in the tree.
Yeah, out in space, way out in the desert. All right,
goes down to the basement.
Outside.
What is your least favorite candy and why? It's technically 2 questions.
Least favorite candy? Yellow Starbursts.
Really?
Why make them?
Those aren't the lemon ones?
No.
They are.
Yeah.
Those are lemon.
Yeah. They're the lemon one. Yeah. Like why?
They're not bad.
Why? Like I'll eat them if I have to. So what? You know, if you get a
gun to my head,
you'll pick out the reds and the pinks, You'll
Not
get
your
to the
favorite.
oranges,
Yeah.
and then you'll get to the yellows, and you're like,
Yeah.
why did I even like? And then you're mad at yourself because you could have just bought a bag of just reds, and you're like, this is my fault. Starburst keeps making them. I don't have to eat these. I don't have to buy them. That's on me.
If it was
But when you see that pink, you're excited. You're like, yeah.
Yes.
Because the pink is pink lemonade, right? Is the pink lemonade?
I have no idea what it is.
I don't know.
It could be the slime from byproduct from meat processing. I still eat it. Now you talk about cognitive dissonance. I would still eat a pink Starburst if you told me this is the stuff out of the ice cream machine that is never working at McDonald's, and I would look you in the face and eat a pink Starburst.
No, it ain't good, but it's still good.
No, it ain't good.
Gross.
I would.
All right.
This is gelatin meat. You're like, give it to me. Let me do it.
And
so
you got another one?
So these last two are sort of they're more questions for when like we have like a politician on or an author or something like that. But it's this last one is the second to last one is what is the one question that you wish I had asked you?
About all this shit back here behind me.
Oh, okay.
So
I'll take a
literally,
look. Hold on.
I had a home office, and the youngest one became mobile.
Right.
So all of my nerd stuff, comics, books.
I see a Dune book.
Yeah, action figures. Yeah. So my mother-in-law got me that for Christmas.
Very cool.
Oh, and you have the whole Dark Knight trilogy. So yeah, that's fantastic.
So the art from the Dark Knight trilogy, Kingdom Come, some art books, Liberty Meadows, a bunch of Sanford Green's Bitterroot, like a whole bunch of stuff. So basically, I had a whole room for myself, and we decided to make the mistake and have a second child, and he got that room, and so all of that stuff came into the bedroom.
Yeah.
In here. And so that's what all of this is. And so this is just the makeshift studio until I can get the other room set up. And my wife, for some reason, still finds me attractive, knowing that I spend ungodly amounts of money on nerddom. Like here's how
willingly sleeps with me and everything.
Oh, I'm literally sitting in my next child's room right now.
Yeah.
Time is only just ticking until I'm kicked out.
So like they restarted G.I. Joe. It was the second issue of Cobra Commander. This is how dumb I am. And I don't have an excuse for it, but this is what I do. They make the single issues, right? So this is a single issue, it's bagged and board. It is $3.99. Eventually they will release a soft cover of the book.
Right.
Let's look at something like this, like Liberty Meadows. They'll release where you have.
Yep.
And I'll buy that. And then
you got to have something to read.
And then my dumbass
got a compendium.
There you go. My dumbass will turn around and will buy the hardcover of said book.
Yeah.
And we'll have all versions of one thing, and we'll spend money on it like nothing.
Yeah.
So
Leroy, I have a dumb thing for you. Hold on. You know how dumb I am and how much my wife hates me?
Oh, was it a special keyboard? Is that
no?
Nope.
Yeah.
That's Shane Beamer. She was like, "What did you just went to the gas station?" I said, "Yeah, he said to give me that." And now I have Shane Beamer.
Is that life-size cutout of Shane Beamer taller than Shane Beamer actually is? I think it is.
It could be.
I think it is. All right.
So,
it could be.
A whole case of action figures that were supposed to be displayed behind me. Statues that are in this glass that actually have lights and everything. And she's like, why do you keep buying them? And I was like, I don't have that version of the 501st Legion clone trooper. That's why.
Is he actually a 501st clone trooper?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Oh, wow.
She's like, why do you have that? And I was like, because I need him to go.
You're not going to play with it?
Oh, I am. I'm definitely going to open because I need him to go.
My waist window.
From the cleanse, yeah.
With real purple saber.
Yeah, and she's like, why are you like this? And I was like, because you
said I
chose
do.
me. This is
that's it.
This is your fault.
That's it.
Like,
Fundamentally flawed is who I am. Yeah.
This is more of a problem with you than it is
Yeah.
me, because you knew I was like this and you decided to say, yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, these are just poor choices on your part.
Exactly.
All right, last question, and I'll just preface this by saying I can't ask you this question. So, what is the one question that you're glad that I didn't ask you? And again, I cannot ask you that question. You cannot answer it.
I'm glad you did not ask me. I was trying to think. Because I can't answer it.
Right.
How much did I pay for all this shit?
Oh, good. Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, that's it. That's good.
Because I don't
really
leave it out
good.
there just in case my wife stumbles upon this, because she kind of knows how much I paid for this, because there's price tags on some of it,
Right.
and some of it I get at a discounted rate, and then some of it I'll get, the bill will come and I'll just pay it before she like sees the credit card bill, or I pay with it, with a debit card, and she doesn't look at that one. It's like, well, that's his money. Yeah. So I'm glad you didn't ask me how much all this costs,
Right.
because I'm telling you right now,
It's embarrassing.
Well, she'll
Honestly,
just be mad if it's more than y'all's wedding was.
oh no. I'm going to tell you right now, I actually have action figures. A matter of fact,
Uh-oh.
I'm looking for, I have a few of them that cost more than my wedding ring.
By themselves.
I have one. Now, I didn't pay it. Well, I did. There's a statue. There's a Wonder Woman statue. If you ever look it up, it's type in Wonder Woman Frank Cho. It's one of my favorite art pieces. It's Frank Cho draws Wonder Woman like Amazon, not the Gal Gadot Amazon. He draws her, and they made a statue.
Big.
Yes, and I was like, I have to have that, and I bought it. My wedding ring cost $87. I bought it because she got mad at me because I waited to the last minute 2 weeks before we got married, and she was like, they're going to have to size it, yada, yada, yada. I said, no, they won't, because I'm just going to go in. And she was with me. She was with me. We went in the jewelry warehouse. We were in Lexington looking at something else. We walked in. I said, can I see that? She said, yeah. I said, how much is it? She said, $87. I went like this, said it fit. I said, I'll take it. We walked out.
That's it. That's it. That's all it takes.
To this day,
That's
I tell her procrastination works. I know how to save money. Get off my
And I
back.
don't have 2 months' salary on my finger.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we're
There
good.
you go.
That's right.
Now, her wedding ring cost a lot. Mine did not. But I always like to tell her, that cost more than my wedding ring.
Well, guys, thank you very much. This has been fantastic. That is going to do it for episode number 196. Thank you very much, Leroy, for being here. Thank you very much, Zach, for also attending with us. Links to past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media are all available at our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly, and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger to support the show monthly? Members can get early access to episodes as well as exclusive content, or you can make one of those one-time donations through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can also call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533. Email the show at theallaboutnothing.com or join Discord server. Links available on theallaboutnothing.com. Leroy, again, thank you very much. Zach apparently has already bailed on us.
Well, he had a mini Zac keep coming in, and
Yeah.
it looked like he was troubleshooting something, so I don't blame him.
That very well could be. So I'll just say the catchphrase. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You all stay safe and have a great week. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber. Gruber, or visit my Linktree/Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. To find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland. Available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved. This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is brought to you by Blank Canvas Brand. If you own a business, restaurant, or sports team and you're ready to shake things up with that new, unique image, you need to use Blank Canvas Brand. Blank Canvas specializes in brand identity, including logos and graphics for business cards, flyers, banners, and signs. Blank Canvas offers printing services to help with your clothing needs. Look, when it comes to talent and service, there is no one better. For more information, you can search Facebook for Blank Canvas, or you can email blankcanvas@theallaboutnothing.com. That's BLNKCANVS@theallaboutnothing.com. You can find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com.